So we got the clock that we bought at the flea market. We got a new motor, not opened yet. New set of hands, new LED bulbs, and some accessories. So we're going to try to get everything matched up and get this clock restored. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the retaining ring. Now, I already loosened it. There was a missing little nut and screw here, and that's the only thing I don't have to replace it. So we're going to take that off. We got the concave glass, which we're going to take off very carefully here and save it. We're going to clean that glass up real good before we put it all back together. Okay, so now we got to get the second hand off. You just screw that off counterclockwise, and that comes right off. Okay, and here's the most important part. The glass is worth more than anything in this clock. So we're going to take that off and get the old light bulbs out. So we're going to replace the lights with LEDs in a minute. So we get those out, and you can see the glass is in really nice shape. It needs clean, but that's about it. So we got to replace the clock motor. Okay, we already know from our initial testing last year the Telecron motor does not work. Okay, so that's going to be something we're going to have to rebuild that, or put the new one in. So I got a new motor to put in here, so we'll get around to that in a minute. But before we go any further, let's just make sure the LED bulbs are going to work. Now, we've replaced the old appliance bulbs, incandescent bulbs, with these LED bulbs. I think I showed you this once before. These bulbs, oh yeah, they're going to give off a nice even light. Okay, and let's just set this on here to see. Yeah, see, that's going to look evenly dispersed, the light, and it's not hot. In fact, those vent holes in the back are not even important anymore, because these LED bulbs, they simply do not get hot. So now that we know that the bulbs work, the next thing we're going to have to do is change this motor. Okay, that's going to be the biggest part of this job. So let's open the motor. Let me move this camera angle back a little bit so you can see better. Okay, so let's check out the motor. The motor came to me in the mail. I bought this. It's got some new hardware for the hands and the motor. See? Yeah, synchronous motor. Now this is a brand new motor. Just bought for this to make sure that the holes are going to line up and that we're not going to have any kind of problem. It looks like it's the exact one for PAM clocks. Now this isn't a PAM clock. This clock was actually made for Mopar distributors for their showroom for auto parts and stuff like that. You can see this motor was made in the United States. This is a very good motor. Okay, so I'm gonna take the motor out and then I'll come back and show you how I put it back in. We got the old clock motor out, and you can see it's wired in parallel with the lights. So that doesn't mean if the lights go out, the motor stops, because that would be if it was series wired. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to check and make sure the new clock motor works. Okay, so we'll just take take our clips here and here, and here's the new motor. We're going to put one on, just one for now, just one wire. Keep this wire from touching anything. We're going to plug this clock in to the outlet over here. Okay, so we got to pick up the current right here. Got the wire, so let's put this other, I don't want to have this down here. In there, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, that thing, that's a beauty. It's a whisper cry. There you go. That's a whisper quiet motor. Beautiful motor. Brand new. This is a brand new motor. This is not cannibalized out of some other clock or anything like that. This is a brand new motor. So now that we know the motor works, let's cut the power. Keep those from touching. I'm going to unplug the clock. Okay, the next thing we do here is I'm going to cut you off here for a minute, and I'm going to replace the motor. Okay, so I'll be back. Okay, now we got the clock motor affixed to the mount. The mount is fixed to the clock basin. Everything is back in here. We're ready to test the motor to make sure it works. Earlier I mentioned that these holes might not be necessary since the LED bulbs don't get hot, but I overlooked the fact that you might want to change the bulb, so that gives you access. But these LED bulbs, they'll probably last forever. They'll never burn out, so you probably never need to change them anyway. So now we got the second hand. Okay, so let's put the second hand onto the gear. This is always so difficult. Okay, remember that spins on. You have to tighten that down clockwise so it don't come off. Okay, so the second hand's on. Let's connect the power. So we got back power. We don't have everything wired together yet, and I'm still trying to decide how to do that. I was thinking about soldering those wires, but probably just leave the wire nuts instead, because if somebody wanted to change the socket or something went bad, it would be better to just leave the wire nuts. They're safe. Okay, so now we got the second hand on, clock motor in. Let's check it out. We're going to plug it in and see how this, if that motor works. Okay. And there we go. Look at that. How about that? Ow. Okay, look at that. Smooth. Get these out of the way. I don't want to touch anything. Go on, baby. Get on past. There you go. Look at that. You hear how quiet that is? How smooth? That motor is smooth as butter. Now you might hear a noise in the background, and you might attribute that to the clock motor. That's actually a heater in my workshop. So that thing is super quiet. If I turned that heater off, you wouldn't even know that thing's going. I don't even know if you can hear the heater. But look at that. Okay, so let's disconnect the power here. Okay, unplug it over here for safety. Okay, now I guess the next thing we do is I'll put the wiring back. I'm going to strip these wires and make new connections, put the wire nuts back on, get everything ready, and then we can start to reassemble the clock and put the new hands on. So I'll be back in a minute. Look here, we got there's my big Pioneer that I love so much on my desktop here on my workbench, and that was fixed and totally refurbished by Chuck over at fixmyhifi.com, and I've been telling you about him. So fixmyhi-fi.com. You can find him on Facebook too, if you have any old gear, any old 70s audio gear. So let me wrap this up and try to put the wiring all back together, and then we'll get ready to reassemble the clock, okay? Okay, we still got a little bit of work to do. We got to put the joiner together, the new hands, clean the concave glass, put everything back together, and we'll be in good shape here. Okay, I think the next step is let's get these hands on. So we got a brand new set of hands. Came to me from this guy here, Petro Relics, on the eBay. So brand new set of hands, getting ready to go on. Let's let me get a knife or something so I can open this. Now I did have the hands that came off of here. They weren't in bad shape or anything, but the hands were only like 17 bucks or something, so I thought, well, if we're going to do all this trouble, we might as well go ahead and put some new hands on too. Oh yeah, these are the appropriate vintage repo hands. There you go. It came right in the brand new mail. So let's cut the power to the clock. With the hands, he gave me a little set of thumb screws for replacement for the hands. So I don't know which one will fit this gear assembly, but we'll figure it out. So we're gonna cut the power to the clock. Take the second hand off. We're getting there. We're almost getting there. Okay. Let's take the hands off the mounting board that they came on. Oh man, look at them. They're beautiful. Small hand, big hand. You got to be careful not to bend these now. Okay. The small hand actually goes on first because that fits over the stem. There you go. And then you put the big hand. Let's start it at 4 o'clock there. Well, that don't work. Okay, we're going to start at 20 to 4, whether we like it or not. Then we're going to get the thumb screw that fits. The gear assembly. And this bag is really hard to open, so I'm going to come back in a minute. Okay, we got the thumb screw on with I think we got the hands on right. I had to be very careful, and that's why I shut the video off, because these hands are paper thin. Let's tighten that nut. Okay, let's check the adjustment and make sure it works. Okay. Yeah. Uh-oh. Their hands are rubbing. Okay, so we got to make an adjustment here. Making sure these hands don't touch. There we go. Let's go all the way back around. There we go. They're just a little bit more. Oh, these hands are so fragile and so thin. You don't want to mess with them. Okay. Okay, so we got that. Second hand goes back on top of that. Of course, like I said a few times earlier, that has to go on clockwise. Okay, how far does it go? There we go. All right, let's check it out, folks. I'm going to plug it in. We haven't had a problem yet. And there we go. It's 3 o'clock, okay? I'm going to let it run for a minute. I might speed it up, but we'll see how long it goes and see if it keeps good time. Everything looks good. It's keeping time. So while we're waiting for that, let's grab a paper towel and this concave glass. Now we got to be careful with this glass. Very, very careful. So I'm going to spray this glass and I'm going to whoosh it out of view while that clock is running, because I don't want to spray the clock or anything. But boy, is it looking nice. Things are really looking nice on this clock. Okay, that's the front. once we get it mounted and everything, we can look for any streaks or smears and go over them again. But this thing is looking beautiful. I almost don't want to sell it, but that's my problem with picking. And I've been doing this all my life, buying stuff and fixing it and selling it and keeping it. And that's the biggest part of the problem, is I end up keeping everything. And I'm starting to want to keep this clock, but I have the WEDO McKeesport clock that I'm going to restore next. So I'll probably keep that one and put it in my radio room. So I guess there's no sense keeping this one. But this is a beauty, and I did promise it to somebody. If she don't want it, then I'll put it up for sale to anybody. I bought this at Rogers Flea Market for $35, so don't tell me you can't find deals at the flea market. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's a beauty. Let's kill the light. Let's see here. Let's kill the light. What do you think? The noise you hear in the background is my heater. The clock makes a hum if you almost put your ear to it, or if your hearing's better than mine. Some kind of smudge on the face right there. I don't know if you can see it. I got to check that out. I'll try to buff that out. I'll see if it's a scratch or a smudge, but right now I don't know what it is. But yeah, look at that. Brand new LED lights, brand new sockets. Brand new hands. The only thing that's original was the second hand, which was in good shape. Okay. Okay, let's put the lights back on. I gotta see what that mark is right there. I don't know if that's in the paint. Some ways you can't even see it. I don't know. I'm gonna put the ring back on. This ring. But before I do that, I'm going to cut the video a minute just to see if I can take a closer look and see if that's dirt smudged or what that is. Okay? Be right back. Okay, well, I took the concave glass off and I tried to buff that spot out, and it's still there. I don't know if you can see it. It may be on the back side of the glass when I washed it with the Windex. I can't guarantee it, but I'm not taking this all back apart again. This is a vintage clock. This is from the early 60s, maybe around 1960, 61. It was made by Chrysler Corporation for their own advertising department. It's not a PAM clock, although it resembles a PAM clock. It's totally restored now. It's smooth and everything's fine, so I'm not going to mess with it if you have to deal with that little spot. Unless you want to take the hands apart and go in the back of the glass, maybe, just maybe. My cat's here telling me it's lunchtime. So, yeah. So I'm going to put the retaining ring back on the glass. Okay, we're about ready to finish this video up here. I noticed I did take the glass apart. I did decide to take it apart about that smudge, and I'm not really sure. I can't see it now. I cleaned the back of the glass after all and put it all back together again just to be sure. So you can see the time is right where I left off, and I plugged it back in. So this is just about it. We're getting toward the end here. The retaining ring. And boy, oh boy, without this retaining ring, Without this retaining ring, that thing would fall apart and that glass would bust, and if that glass would bust, that would be everything. Okay, so we're going to put the retaining ring on like so. Put the seam right at 6 o'clock. Pull it nice and tight. Okay, now I'm going to be straight up with everybody. This retaining ring is held on by a tiny little clamp, and I don't have a replacement. And the person at the flea market had put a little string in there, which I'm not going to do that. But I have some number 16 Western Electric strapping wire. This is really, really good wire. This is not solder. This is very stiff strapping wire. I'm going to cut a piece of that off. And I'm going to put it through. We're going to have to fish it through. Okay, so I put it back. I put the retaining ring back on with a little strapping wire, and you can see it's not going anywhere. It's very solid. That's the only thing on this clock that's probably not that's original, not original part or replacement. I also noticed there's some very fine scratches in the glass. You can't even see them though. They're almost, you have to tilt the clock under various angles under the light to even notice it. But yeah, we have some very fine scratches. I don't know if you can even see them or not. It's almost impossible. This clock is really nice, honestly. I just want to, I'm not trying to emphasize the negative. I just want to show you what I have here. The retaining ring is on with I made a little pigtail with strapping wire from Western Electric. That's not going to break. Somebody could find a little clamp maybe at one of those clock shops and replace it. But right now, you see it, and that my furnace is on in the background. There it is. That's about it.